Hey there, how are we doing? So we've got a little bit of a different session for Mobility Monday for you today. We're going to sit on the floor, and that's pretty much all we're going to do for the um, for the session. You've got options. If you can, you're just going to sit on the floor, cross-legged, just like that, and we're holding it here for about 2 minutes. If that feels too challenging, you can have a cushion underneath your bum. You can have a wall behind you to gently lean against, or the sofa, whatever you want. But if you can, we're going to go free without leaning on anything, without sitting on anything other than the floor. Easiest is cross legs, and you can keep on swapping those legs if you need to. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, we can go with our feet together and make sure as we go into our feet together, we don't want to go into that kind of hunch forward. It's fine to have a bit of a roll, but we don't want to be completely in that C shape. We want to be thinking about that nice tall back. And then we're just holding it. Now, why are we doing this? You might have heard of Kelly Surrett, Mobility Ward. Can't think of his other site, but Kelly Surrett is a big key player in the mobility movement. He did mobility before other people did, before it became trendy to talk about mobility. He and his wife, Julie, have written, well, lots of books, but particularly a book that came out a few years ago, Built to Move, where they talk about the 10 vital signs for being healthy, just healthy in life, not necessarily to do with your training, but just being healthy in life. And the number one vital sign that they talk about in that book, the most important, I guess, the number one, is the ability to get up and down off the floor. So we're going to practice that getting up off the floor in a second. Now, why is that important? There was a study done in 2014 where the researchers gave the people in the study a sit to rise test. So they had 2,000 people, men and women, aged 51 to 80, and they simply asked them to get up off the floor without using their hands. And they followed that group of people throughout their lives after that. And as it says in the book, in that 6 year span, nearly 8% of the study subjects had died. After crunching the numbers, the researchers were able to determine that according to the study data, an inability to get up and down off the floor without assistance is associated with a greater risk of death. Conversely, the higher a subject scored on the test, the greater the improvement in their statistical likelihood of survival. And as they go into say in the book, it's reasonable to think, well, sure, the people who died were probably old, and since old people aren't mobile, they probably fell, couldn't get up, and then all sorts of bad things started to occur. I'm not even old or feeble, so I don't need to worry about this happening to me. But as the book says, that would be missing the point. The upshot of the Brazilian and American researchers' work is that people who do well on the test have greater mobility, and that greater mobility may make them less likely to fall in the first place and better in all-round health. What that means is that whether you're worried about falling, the ability to easily sit and rise is a reflection of your well-being. If you can move in all the ways that allow you to get up and down with little or no support, then your body is stable, supple, and efficient. Okay, so let's have a go at our first sit to rise. So all you need to do is get up off the floor without using your hands. Any way you want, so long as you don't use your hand, get up, stand up, maybe give it a bit of a shake if you're starting to feel a bit stiff, and come back down again without crashing to the ground. Now, some of you will have found that really easy. Some of you might have found that harder. It's something to work on, not because the actual ability, well, yes, the ability to get up and down off the floor is important, but more, as the book says, because of what it shows about our mobility. So from there, we're going to go into our next seated position. We're going into a 90-90 position. So we've got about, don't worry too much, you don't need to get out your protractor, but 90 degrees at the knee, 90 degrees at the hip, 90 degrees at the back leg, and we're just holding it there like that. Now, this is working our internal external rotation. You might find that your knee's right up here. You might find you're not quite down to the ground. If you can, you're trying to get that knee down towards the ground. Again, working with what's right for you, not forcing anything. If you need that cushion under your bum, if you need a bit of support, hands on the ground behind you to lean back into it and then gradually work into seated. Brilliant. Now, why are we sitting on the ground when I've just talked about your ability to stand up? As the book goes on to say, and don't worry, I'm not going to read from the book for you the whole time, but when we are seated, when we're sitting in a chair, we're essentially immobilizing our body. We're stopping ourselves using that active control around the hip joint. And instead, we're kind of locking ourselves in, using our lower back, using our thighs to keep ourselves stable in that chair. And that's good if we don't want to fall off the chair, keep ourselves stable, but it's not good long term. And think how much time we spend seated. We don't want to be in that locked in position the whole time. We want to be using our body in a more active way. Let's swap to the other side now. So take the legs to the other side. I'm much stiffer this way. I can feel myself kind of going all sideways. So I'm really trying to think about lengthening up. As I do that, my knee comes off the ground. That's all fine. That's where I'm at. But that's why we need to work in these positions. So when we're seated in a chair, on the sofa, whatever, we're not really using our body in an active way. We're not working on our mobility. Can we start to do more sitting on the floor? And this is a challenge to myself as much as to you guys, so that we start being more active. So if you're lucky enough, maybe not lucky, whatever you think of it, but if you work from home, is there some time when you're just doing some work, not on the computer or whatever, where you could be sitting on the floor making some notes? I've started doing way more kind of brainstorming myself on bits of paper rather than trying to do everything at the computer. My brain works so much better that way, or doing my to-do list in the morning or whatever. Could I do that seated on the floor instead? Making sure it's not distracting me from the task in hand, but I'm just picking up that time on the floor. If that's not relevant for you, hold that thought because we've got another stand to go. So again, however you want to do it, standing up. Now take note, you probably are going for one leg crossed in front of the other. Try the other way around to the way you want to go. Oh, harder. I lost my balance there. And again, think I would naturally come down with my right leg in front. So I'm challenging myself to go with left leg in front. If you're just challenging yourself to get up and down at all, don't worry about what leg's doing it. Just work on what you can do. Okay, so we're going for the next hardest. Now, as we go through these get harder. If you can't do them, go for one of the easier ones, or just take a break, or add in those props, add in the cushion, add in the wall behind you. But the next one, simplest sounding, but probably the hardest to do, I reckon, just sitting with our legs out in front of us. So we're going for 2 minutes here with our legs out in front of us. So the challenge is to spend more time seated on the floor. As I say, that could be in the working day. If there's something you can do that you can sit on the floor and do it, you can obviously set yourself up with a computer on a sort of chair or whatever as well, so you can be working on the floor, making sure we're not into really hunched over positions or whatever, but we're just working on building up that hip mobility and stability, that control as we sit while we're getting on with our work. If not, maybe we're watching TV in the evening. Can we sit on the floor in the evening? I know that my cat would love that if I came down onto the floor. Your dogs, whatever, will love it. But just spending more time using our body to sit rather than just using the chair to cocoon us and hold us as we sit. So just sitting there, legs out, you're probably feeling it's getting a bit uncomfortable now. You want to wiggle around, that's fine. The more we wiggle, the more we use in our body, that's absolutely fine. The goal is to try and build up to 30 minutes on the floor. That's a long amount of time. That's a long amount of time for our body to do. That's probably a long amount of time just in terms of building habits, because that's not something we're used to. So I would set your challenge of, could you do 2 minutes in each of the positions we're doing today, and then build from there. If you don't think you've got, what's that, 8 minutes in your life, do 2 minutes one day, do 2 minutes in the next position the next day, whatever it is. Remember, when we're trying to build habits, and I talk so much about this when I'm working with my clients, when I'm working the membership, we can't just expect to do things and think about using willpower to get it done. We want to build habits to help us. So trying to do it at the same time of day each day, so you have a trigger that reminds you that you're doing it. If you can't do it, making it easier, not just going, oh, I can't do this, it's impossible. Making it easier. Start with 30 seconds. If you could do 30 seconds every day, probably all of us can find 30 seconds in our day. Then can we build up to a minute? Then can we build up to 90 seconds, whatever it is. And maybe we need to give ourselves a reward. A reward doesn't have to mean, a chocolate biscuit, something that doesn't feel coherent with our goals. Maybe chocolate biscuits are coherent with your goals, but don't kind of go for the reward that feels naughty to you. Go for something, can I have a nice cup of tea, coffee, whatever, when I'm sitting on the floor? So I link it together with something that I want to be doing. So think about building those habits. We're getting up again. Going for the opposite way round to the one that you want to, and back down. Again, if you can get up and down, brilliant. Don't go, oh, this is too easy, I don't need to bother with it. Tick yourself, give yourself a big round of applause, and think, I'm keeping my body healthy. I'm keeping that ability to get up and down. Think of older people, hang on, hold that thought. So now we're going for one leg out front, the other leg, we can hug our knee in, we can go for the leg bent, we can go for the leg bent behind us, whatever you want. So play around with it. There's no right or wrong. We've got one leg straight, we've got one leg bent. Play around, find either what feels challenging, so you're working into it harder, or what feels easiest to make it easy to keep going. This one's definitely challenging. What was I saying? Oh no, I cut myself off. No, menopause brain, that one has completely gone. But I'm sure it was a vital point I'll come back to some other day. But anyway, we want to pick up time in these seated positions, building on that mobility, building on our ability. I was talking about whether you can get up and down. If you can get up and down, yeah, give yourself a well done. but it doesn't mean you don't need to still be picking up time on the floor. This time on the floor is using that body in this active way, working with our body to be able to hold these positions, building our mobility, like you feel in that 90-90, building that internal, external rotation, building the support around our body to keep us in that position. So we're going to swap legs in a sec, but you can absolutely swap legs before that. You don't have to do a minute in each position. So swapping over. So we're coming up to our last minute now. So this is just over 10 minutes that we've done seated on the floor with the getting up and down in between. That might be too long for you to do by yourself. As I say, start with what feels sustainable and just see, can you build up more time on the floor? If you've got questions about it, drop it into the comments. Let me know how you're getting on. If you've done it and you've done it even just twice in a row, brilliant. This is a challenge to me. I've not started doing this either. This is my challenge to myself to start doing this, to build in that mobility. Maybe not every day, because not every day is going to be possible. But on the days when I'm just sitting there watching telly, can I sit on the floor instead? On the days when I'm, as I say, doing my brainstorming or doing my to-do list, can I sit on the floor instead? So just seeing where I can build it into my life to pick up more time on the floor, not focusing on what I can't do, not focusing on the times I can't do it, but focusing on the time I do. Each second, each minute I spend on the floor in these positions is helping my body to be happier and healthier. Right, last time, up off the floor. I'm going to see if I can do it without crossing my legs, but I don't think I'm quite there. Up we go. And we're down and we're done. So well done. I look forward to seeing you next week for more Mobility Monday. If you like this session, if you want more of this sort of stuff, click the button to subscribe, click the button to see more of the other sessions that we've done. And I look forward to seeing you back next Monday. Do let me know how you get on in the comments.